everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the GVGCast, episode 83 on Friday, the 1st of December, 2023. I'm joined, as always, by my good friends and partners in crime, Derek Bittner and Brandon Miracle. It's been a while since the three of us, specifically, have gotten together to do an episode of the show. I'm going to bang out the sponsor copy real quick, and then we'll just jump right in. So, if you don't know, this episode, like so many before it, is sponsored by The Game Orb. And The Game Orb is a YouTube and Twitch channel that brings commentary and gameplay footage from the Nintendo Switch and Xbox Series X gaming systems. After the end of this month, there will be no more readouts, but he will still be around in the GVG community from there on out. He appreciates all the support he has received up to this point, and if you want to continue to support him on YouTube and or Twitch, if you have not done so, we've got links to both his Twitch and YouTube channels in the description. We'll get those up in chat if you're watching live. But thank you so much to the Game Orb for the years of support. We appreciate everything you've done for us here at GVG. And of course, we wish you all the best in your future success on both Twitch and YouTube. But that being said, we normally get that out of the way like way later in the episode, so I want to get that out in front. Yeah, but let's do that now. How y'all been? What have you been doing? I miss you. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. There we go. Okay, there we go. Sorry, Derek. How you been?
I was just here singing Silent Night. Weirdly,
beautiful
weirdly,
voice, songbird of his generation.
Yeah, there we are. I just broke out the really good pipes for the one and only time. So, oh well.
Never again.
Never again. No, I've been good. We, of course, I think all three of us were away for Thanksgiving. I got to for the first time in quite a while. We got to go up and see my family and have Thanksgiving with them, and had a really good time with that. Had some good food, of course, and just sort of got the chance to chill a little bit. And otherwise, it's mainly just playing what I can, working on what I can, and finally, for the first time, and I can't remember how long, I'm actually going to go see a movie tonight.
That is rad. What are you seeing?
I'm going to see Godzilla -1. I looked and saw that there was a 10 o'clock showtime my time. I'm like, you know what? That works. It's right after GVG cast. It's not too late. I can manage this. I can go see this. And I miss seeing Turtles in theaters. I miss seeing Spider-Man. I still haven't seen those movies, but you know what? I will find time to watch some Godzilla, I guess. But I also heard this movie is like one of the best of the year, according to a lot of people. Like,
wow.
Like, holy crap. Amazing.
With just a mere budget of $15 million.
Which is high for Japan, because their highest budgeted movie ever, I think, was $50 million. I saw as a stat. Yeah. So as far as Japanese money's going, it's up there.
Yeah, I believe it. From what I've seen of it, it looks pretty impressive. I haven't seen Mutant Mayhem either. I've seen little bits of it here and there, but I haven't seen the movie. I can't remember. I think the last time I went to see a movie in theaters, unfortunately for me, was the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which don't recommend. Just don't. But
I've heard not so great things.
This is the week Michaela went back to work. She's done with maternity leave, so me and the kiddo were getting to spend a lot of time together, and because of that, I've been watching a lot of movies myself, just in my living room. I'm showing her all my favorites. We watched the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Nice. I was like, we got to get that one out of the way. Showed her The Sandlot. And I say showed her, but obviously she's sleeping through most of the. I'm rewatching Rugrats, and it's a very different show as a parent than it is as a.
You still question the parents leaving their kids alone that much, though. Like,
oh yeah, I was like, this is not realistic in any way at all.
No, it's like, oh, these parents are awful. Like, they do not watch their kids at all.
No. Outside of that, when she's calm enough to let me play a game for a little bit, I've restarted Final Fantasy VII Remake. in anticipation of Rebirth coming out in February.
Man, I'm so excited for that game. That is one that I hope we're able to get access to early. We don't know, obviously, but man, I need to replay Remake. That is on my list.
So good.
my problem is right now. I'm trying to kind of catch up on the games that I didn't play this year that came out this year. So stuff like Disgaea 7. I'm trying to finish RoboCop. Other games that kind of just there were so quickly this year that I just haven't gotten a chance to play through all the things I wanted to get to this year. And with Game of the Year coming up, I'd like to at least give them all a little bit of time so I can cull the herd, as it were. But I think that right now, it's no secret if you've watched us throughout the year, you know that my two front runners are Tears of the Kingdom and Spider-Man 2. And I want to find time to play through both of those again right before we settle in for our game.
That is ambitious.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 is reasonably short. Like a 20-hour game. If you crit path it, it's like 20 hours. Tears of the Kingdom, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to try.
I still need to finish both of said games. So yeah.
I put in 135 hours into Tears of the Kingdom, and I think I can wait another 5 years to replay that game.
That's how I felt after I finished Breath of the Wild. So yeah, I could not get back to. I still like struggle to think about. Oh God, restarting Breath of the Wild. But I also have to get back to it. The thing is, my go-to game lately has actually been Sea of Stars, because it's kind of perfect for just short bursts. It's like, okay, I'll play until I get to the next save point, and then I'll stop there. And then the next save point, stop there. And it's nice short bursts that I can actually pull off and do. Though I had a funny story that you might have seen on Twitter. I'm not sure. Steve's been on vacation, so I don't think he knows this story.
Yeah, I've been off Twitter almost entirely for the last couple of weeks.
So nice. I tried to play I'm sure. I tried to play the game. And I thought, I was like, okay, I have to go through this door. I just collected all these green skulls that I need, and I need to go through this door in order to finally take on this boss. Except the door was not open. It was like, it's not opening. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure I have to get through there. Why is this door not opening? Oh God, did it glitch somehow? What is happening? So I tweet about it. Like, am I missing something? Did I miss a switch or something like this? There's like, what's going on here? And actually got in touch with somebody that's actually part of the Sea of Stars Discord, talking with the people that works with bugs, and they're trying to figure out what the heck's going on as they're asking me questions. I
did see this, yeah.
And then they finally asked me, like, hey, just to cover our bases, do you have these two items in your inventory, and does this line of dialogue coming up when you're from this character when you're in camp? I'm like, yes. And as soon as I looked at those two items and saw that dialogue, I'm like, oh my God, because of the rush of Thanksgiving, I had beaten the boss, left the room. That room never opens again, so it's closed at the moment. I'm done with this area. I just need to leave.
Just forgot.
Completely forgot. It was like a week since I played it last. I was like, oh, what was I doing again? I thought I had the boss next, but no, I beat the boss. It's just leave. And it's like, well, how would I come up with that?
Nice.
You just brought up a pretty embarrassing memory for myself.
Oh, this is pretty embarrassing because I got somebody on the team trying to help me. It's like, oh my God. But go ahead, Brandon.
I think it was when Intergrade came out for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I was scouring my house trying to find my copy of the game. And I'm like, where the hell is it? For like an hour and a half. I end up thinking it's like stuck in my PS4 for some reason. So I go through the motions to get a stuck disc out, and as I'm trying to get the disc out, I remembered that I bought the game digitally.
I was wondering because I have it on PS4, and I just did the PS5 upgrade.
Oh God, I had to sit in my own sorrow
Shame.
On my floor for like an hour after that. Because I was like telling people, I was like, I don't know where I put my copy, and then I come to realize, yeah, I don't have one.
To be fair, that would trip me up because, as you know, if you've been a long time listener, we received code for remake from Square a long time ago. And I ended up just buying a physical copy because I still have my PS1 original Final Fantasy VII. And so I really like the idea of having the same cover on a PS4 box. And so I've made that mistake a few times where I go to play it and I'm like, oh, I need to find it. And I'm like, damn it. I have this already. I don't need to find it. I did go through hell trying to find, when I did the Portal review, I really wanted my copy of Final Fantasy VII there in the shot. If you look in the corner, like the lower left corner of all the shots in the Portal review, a copy of Final Fantasy VII's on there. And it took me like 3 hours to find that in a box in my basement. But happy to have that. And I definitely sent it over to one of my friends who works at Square now. And I was like, when you go to dole out review codes for Rebirth, remember that I spent hours looking for this game for no good reason.
Oh my.
All right. Well, we do have a few super chats. So let's go ahead and get some of that get some of those questions answered. If you don't know, you can super chat live to us here. We read those questions periodically throughout the show. Our first one comes in from Disney Duncan with $2, who says, "Is Star Fox Assault underrated?" And I'm going to give you a simple yes, because otherwise it would be a 20-minute video here on YouTube.
Yes. I've not played it, but from what I can tell, yes.
Yeah.
It's a good game.
Deserves a whole lot more love than it got.
Great
one of
multiplayer.
Starbucks' best outings, awesome multiplayer. One of the few games where you can play as him on foot, and it's actually good. So there you go.
Also, no Andros.
That's true. That too. Let's see. Blaker36 with $4.99. I've been playing Mario RPG for the first time, and I see where Superstar Saga got some things from. Love y'all. Well, we love you too, and thank you. And yeah, Super Mario RPG is it deserves all the praise that it's gotten over the years. It is an amazing game, and the remake, 10 out of 10. Love it. I will be talking about it now that I've beat it on our Patron exclusive Nintendo podcast, The Win, tonight. Let's see. Following that up, we have Disney Duncan with $2 more. Have you seen Wish? Yeah, I love you. Yeah, we were just talking about how none of us get to go to the movies, so I haven't seen it yet, but I will when it's on Disney Plus if it isn't there already. And I'm sure my girls will love to watch it. Just haven't had time to go to the theaters, but I try to watch every Disney animated film at some point.
I finally did see their Once Upon a Studio, and that was really nice. That was actually very sweet.
Yeah. Man, Disney movies, there's something special about most of them. But I love Brandon drinking what appears to be water out of what is obviously a beer mug.
This is my Linkstein.
Oh, wow. It gets even better. It reminds me of when we went to PAX West a couple years back, and we were all drinking because, you know, you get back from the show, you're back in the Airbnb or the hotel or whatever. It's time to cut loose, you know, have a few drinks, chill out. We were going to stream. And Brandon, because he has type 1 diabetes, cannot consume alcohol. Like, it is dangerous. And so I bought a case of Liquid Death, and I tossed one to Brandon. I'm like, come on, man, drink up. And he looks at me and he's like, I told you I can't. And I was like, look closely at the can, my guy. And he was like, ooh, this is water. This is perfect.
Some fancy ass water, let me tell you.
Hey, Brandon, all I'm saying is that that really should be a Dead Rising mug, because then you could have a Frankenstein.
Ooh,
oh my god,
that's pretty good. That's Azram level punnery.
Good lord.
All right, let's crush a couple more of these, like, as though they are tall boys filled with water, and then we'll move on to news for the day. We've got Bongo Lover with $5 Canadian. Long time no see, Bongo Lover, who writes,
Hi.
What's a game that made you guys cry recently? Mines, he does say mines, is like a Danimal Gaiden. The Dame Danimal who erased his Danimal bottle. Jokes aside, play Gaiden. I do want to play it really bad. Game that made me cry recently. Boy, I'm going to struggle.
It'd have to be Future Redeemed, honestly.
Yeah, I never got through Future Redeemed. How about you, Brandon?
Might be a controversial take, but I know Storm Connections has quite a bad public perception right now because its history mode is garbage, but it has a special Boruto story mode that they did a unique, like, fillery kind of tale. And it was actually quite good, and it did get me a little bit towards the end.
I haven't finished it yet. I played a little bit of it. Bandai Namco sent me a code, and I've been playing it, but I didn't get through the story mode yet.
Special story mode's worth the time.
I'll
Nice.
That's moving up the list. I guess Tears of the Kingdom would be it for me. When I think about it, I cried at the ending of that game. I think it had a
I've
really
not gotten to
powerful
the end, so
final moment.
I'm very curious what that ending is like that it's causing this. Because
You
I
know
saw
what?
one scene that could
Yeah.
probably do something like that, but I was like, I haven't seen the ending.
I think I cried like 4 times throughout the entirety of Tears of the Kingdom for various reasons.
Yeah. Tears of the Kingdom had some powerful moments. All right, we'll close off these super chats for now with one from Disney Duncan for $5. People have different opinions of FNAF. People have different opinions. FNAF was one of my favorite movies of the year. It has a audience score of 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I mean, different strokes for different folks. It just wasn't for me. My kids loved it. I think a lot of people who are into the games probably love it, but full disclosure, I'm just not. I don't really like the games.
I think if you go in like really knowing the lore, it did the thing.
Yeah, it sounds like the movie expects a little bit out of you. If you want to get everything out of it, which is it's fine. Mario is the same way.
I was gonna say you want to feel old and out of touch. It's like the old movie critics watching the Mario movies, like, why aren't they explaining anything? What's this all
What's the
about?
cat suit?
Yeah, exactly. Why is there power ups? What? And they're like, how could you not know this? But then you get kids like, how could you not know this FNAF lore?
Right? Yeah, my girls were explaining stuff to me, and I was like, I love you. I don't really care. But I'm sure it's really cool because you guys like the game, but I'm just here because you like the game.
It's just like when I dragged my poor parents to go see the Power Rangers movie.
Oh yeah, I did that to mine too. I'm sure they were sitting there like, God, Steve, stop. We get it. He has a Zord, whatever that is. All right. That's it for Super Chats for now. Thank you guys. Keep those coming. We'll read them off at various points throughout the show. But for now, we got to talk about news for the day. And of course, as with all things, the internet has found something new to be excited about. That is the reveal of the unused design for Wa Peach. And Derek, you did an update on this today, didn't you?
Yes, So here's the interesting thing to me. So we've the original creator of Waluigi posted on his Instagram what the concept for Wa Peach was actually like. And we got the whole design. I did the whole update so we can see what it actually looks like. I love this fact that this chick hanging out with an axe. That is great. But the thing that actually is really cool to me is that I thought the beginning and end of Wa Peach was just with Mario Tennis 64. They wanted a Wa Peach for a partner for Peach, just like how we got Waluigi. But Nintendo said no because they looked at Wario and Waluigi and like, I don't want to. I was like, I can't imagine a female Peach that looks like that. So they passed on it and we got Daisy instead. So that seemed to be the beginning and end of it all. Well, it turns out they revisited the idea for Mario Power Tennis on the GameCube, and that's what these renders are from. Is from the idea of using Wa Peach in that, and we got like early 3D models and concept art. And honestly, that's a pretty wild video game lore to get updated.
Yeah, I mean I like the design too. I'm looking at it right now. I didn't see the 3D models. I've only seen the illustration that was floating around on Twitter today. But looking at the 3D model, she doesn't look bad, man. She looks cool. Like I would have liked this character.
This is not at all what I was expecting when we first learned about Wa Peach or Waru Peachy. She's just kind of cool, actually.
Weech. That's what Amy called her. Weech.
Yeah, I think that she looks basically. She doesn't. I was expecting, like Nintendo seemed to imply, somebody like the Wario to Peach's Mario, like kind of grotesque, ugly, like very villainous. I think that she looks just kind of cool, and maybe that's why she didn't get used, because she doesn't look inherently evil. But I think this would have been
a live audience
design
so you can see the 3D model.
Yeah, this character design would have won a lot of people over.
It already has won a lot of people over.
Yeah, and I have to wonder if this is. I mean, this is Nintendo we're talking about, so likely not. but I do wonder if this might make Nintendo rethink the existence of this character.
Probably
I don't think so.
not.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's gonna be Bowsette all over again, but the internet's gonna just obsess over this for a while, and then it'll fade into the background. But
People are already putting in their own lore where it's like she's not like the girlfriend of Wario or Waluigi. It's like she's like their niece or something. Like it's Uncle Wario and Uncle Waluigi.
It's so funny to think of this little girl looking up to these two horrible people.
right.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Let's see.
Oh gosh.
Ooh, I want to read out these two new super chats real quick, because one of them I really want to touch on, because it was something that almost made the cut for the show and we pulled at the last minute. But the first one comes from Leo Flo with $5 saying, "Don't feel too bad. I once looked for my phone under my bed using the flashlight from my phone," which same, been there.
I think I've done that before too.
Yeah, I think we've all been there before, which says a lot about how much we rely on those damn phones. But this one from Fangs the Wolf with $5. "Not sure if I should be excited or wary for Phil Spencer teasing Banjo." And if you don't know,
What?
so I had to look this up, because when I saw that super chat, I did a quick Google to find out what they were talking about. Microsoft has recently pointed fans of the Xbox to the Game Awards to look for something next week. And now we've got this article from Phil Spencer, who basically was quoted as saying, "You've seen from our history that we haven't touched every franchise that people would love us to touch. Banjo fans, I hear you. But it is true that when we find the right team and the right opportunity, I love going back to revisit stories and characters that we've seen previously."
That
I
doesn't read it as an announcement to me. He'd keep his mouth shut.
It's more of a deflection. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a deflection. I think that people are reading what they want to read, because this is, people want Banjo back. Rare is currently working on Sea of Thieves. I almost said Sea of Stars twice. Sea of Thieves, that's kind of like their game that they're into. Perfect Dark has been shoved off to the Coalition, and who knows what's happening with that. Microsoft's development
at least
pipeline
Killer
is
Instinct
also,
came back, kinda.
yeah. It's all just kind of quiet, but yeah, I think that I'll be honest, I don't know what to expect from the Game Awards from Xbox. I expect them to show off whatever that new hardware is that's coming out next year. That all digital Series X or whatever.
Whatever did happen to Everwild?
Still being made, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Huh.
Let's see. All right. We'll do one more super chat because it's relevant to what we just discussed. Dark B Andy, $4.99, says that should be a new Whiplash sound effect. Wapeach, which, yeah, it's close.
Give the girl a whip. That's all we need.
Exactly. She needs a whip. That people are probably already going to draw her like that. Of course, there was also a Wa Yoshi idea. We didn't get art for that, but it was just like a dragon with horns and wings, right, Derek?
Yeah, that was the idea. Is that the kind of like we already kind of got a Wa Yoshi in the form of Boshi in Mario RPG, but this creator wasn't aware of that. So it was, rather than like an actual like Yoshi that it's just kind of looking like a bad boy, it was actually more of an actual dragon.
Yeah.
So technically, that dragon in Mario Odyssey is Wa Yoshi.
There you go.
If you want to really think about it.
Deep lore.
All right, let's move on to our second story for the night. This comes from IGN, basically, well, from IGN by way of MinMax. It says that Super Mario RPG's director would like to make a sequel and then retire. Basically, MinMax had an opportunity to interview Chihiro Fujioka, who, if you don't know, is the director for Super Mario RPG, and he said the following. He said, "So in my career, I've been involved in a lot of games, and I would really like my final one to be another Mario RPG game if possible. I think Mario and Luigi is cool, but I would like to go back and create a Mario RPG where you're only controlling Mario." And I find this interesting for a couple of reasons, because in Japan, Paper Mario was originally billed as Super Mario RPG 2. Mm-hmm. And I believe that naming stuck all the way to release. Not 100% on that, but this is another one of those classic things where I think Nintendo fans are going to get more from this than maybe reality allows. In that I think if Nintendo wanted this RPG to have a sequel, it would have happened decades ago at this point, like a proper, like full-on sequel. But also with Nintendo, it's kind of like you can never rule anything out, right? Because
I mean, I looked up what else he's done, because I'm not totally familiar with his
same.
works, and he is actually the original director of Mario RPG. He was the one who originally did that. He's also a composer that did various works, most notably, from what I can tell, Final Fantasy Legend 3 on the Game Boy. He was the writer for Final Fantasy Mystic Quest.
A couple Hamtaro games.
Yeah, he directed Hamtaro Rainbow Rescue and Ham Ham games. And Ham Ham Training.
Wow.
And yeah, and of course did a bunch of world and field design on the Mario and Luigi games. So he's been with the Mario RPGs for quite a while. And last thing he did was actually Fantasian, game design on Fantasian, that Mistwalker game for the Apple Arcade. So
yeah. So where is he? Is he just like a hired gun now? Like, where does he? It doesn't. I don't seem to have a clear indication from his Wikipedia entry of where he works currently.
it's not exactly clear, but what's crazy to me is he's a member of Earthbound Papas, a band led by Nobuo Uematsu, so he has connections.
Yeah, that is interesting.
He
Yeah, his
actually
website is
he left Square in 2000 with a number of other employees to form Alpha Dream. So yeah, he's kind of a free agent now that Alpha Dream's gone. That's actually really cool, though, that the guy who went to Alpha Dream still works with Nintendo to work on this, or Mario RPG. Huh.
Yeah. I guess he's kind of a freelancer now, but I find that interesting. I find that really interesting because I could see if there was ever a time to make a Super Mario RPG 2, it's now. Now that the remake has released to great interest and critical acclaim, I think now would be the time to get him involved and say, hey, let's do a proper sequel. And I think a lot of people, with the game having been recently revitalized, I think a lot of people would respond well to that. I know I've wanted one forever, but now I think that there's a much stronger case for it since people have played the game again recently.
The problem, I think, is that we're already getting a Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake as well.
Right.
And that might increase in interest in another Paper Mario of that kind, rather than the kind that we've gotten with like Origami King. Going back to its RPG roots, do you have, once again, two different Mario RPGs, or do you choose one or the other? That's the difficult part.
To heck with it. We have 3 currently running Mario RPGs because I want Mario and Luigi to come back too.
I like it.
That, or make the next Super Mario RPG also feature Luigi. I know he specifically stated he wanted you to control Mario in his sequel if he makes one. But I'm like, no, I want Luigi.
Right. I would love a Luigi RPG. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I kind of wonder. I don't think that this is going to happen anytime in the immediate future. Nintendo, as we'll discuss later on in the show, like they've got games listed out for years ahead of them at this point, more than I think the Switch has life left in it. But yeah, I think that we will eventually get this. I don't know that it'll be anytime soon, though. I think it'll be years down the road at this point. I think Nintendo has kind of not had the best of timing with their announcements lately.
No. I get the impression from Fujioka that if and when he's ready to do this, he's the kind of person that just has to ask.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I could see that. I mean, a lot of Nintendo seems to operate on that kind of like, you've done good for us before. We'll throw you a bone here. Yeah. I mean, you hear about a lot of like, it's weird because you think Nintendo, a company of that magnitude, has these, these huge plans laid out for the future. And you think that it would be impossible to just kind of pitch them a game and have them be like, sure. But you hear a lot like, what was it with Hyrule Warriors? It was just a Koei Tecmo guy on an elevator with the right person at the right time being like, I'd like to do that. And they're like, okay, sure.
I've heard it. A lot of it comes down to you kind of need a creative person to be a champion of a project. you have a champion of a project who has that vision that can push it forward. That's typically when a game like that will get made. That's why we got Kid Icarus Uprising, because we had Sakurai to champion it. Same sort of idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get that. And I do feel like there are tastemakers within Nintendo who, like you implied, Derek, they could just be like, yeah, I want that. And it happens, right? I'm sure if Miyamoto says, I want Super Mario RPG 2 and I want it to star Wa Peach, they'll be like, whatever you want, man. You got it. You've done enough for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a level of respect for auteurship at Nintendo, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, you have to imagine that was like the case with Wii Music, right? Like Miyamoto's like, I want to make a game where I do this and music happens, and get the whitest lady we have to demo that at E3. I won't do it. And they're like,
oh God, never again, please.
He's like, I'm gonna tell everyone it's great, but if this goes badly, I'll talk about it in 20 years. Anyway, moving on. We've got a couple more super chats. Duck Lizard with a extremely generous $20 donation. I recently bought a refurbished Saturn and am waiting for my satiator. Is that satiator? To come in the mail. I'm really looking forward to playing some unobtainably rare games on Saturn. What rare games would you like to be able to play? And I hate to say this, man, but I'm old. I just played them when they came out. They weren't rare back then.
So the thing is, I had a Saturn. And a lot of the best Saturn games never came to the States. So we need a Saturn Mini or a Saturn Collection.
Right.
Something.
Saturn is kind of a myth to me. I don't believe it exists. I've never seen one, never played a game on it. As far as I'm concerned,
there are good games on it. Just there are good games, I swear.
You've never played a Saturn? Oh, you poor child.
I've never even seen one in person.
I have it.
Yeah, mine is.
I could go fetch it in my closet right now,
room.
Brandon.
You ask me what a Saturn looks like, and I don't know.
Oh my God! All right, I'll be right back. I'll be right. You
guys
guys can move on to the next thing, but I'm gonna show.
All right, he's gonna go get a Saturn. While we do that, real quick, Duck Lizard. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, I've played them all. Magic Knight Ray Earth. I owned it at one point for the Saturn. It is incredibly rare. It has a very interesting story about the source code getting lost in an era where they didn't have backups. And the US version was essentially built from scratch. Like it is. And I had a copy for like a brief period in time. My sister owned it and she lost it. And now it's like $700 and I'll just never have it again. But that's a game I would play through to completion because it was actually pretty fun. It was like a Zelda style RPG based on a 90s magical girl anime. It was dope.
That sounds rad.
It is rad.
All right, Brandon.
You're going to get learned today. Look at that. Ooh, it's got the 4 gig RAM cart and everything.
I know, right?
Or 4 meg. Sorry, 4 gig.
4 gig, 4 meg.
I need to soak it in because it just, like, at first glance, that is generic video game box to me.
No. See, you got the Saturn logo right there.
Okay, I gotta put this in my mind so I don't forget.
I mean, you also, weirdly enough, either got cases that are either small like this, and it's just sort of nothing to it, or more likely, they're huge.
I've seen these cases before, yeah.
So
for the thing that cracks me, it comes with a foam thing to keep your disc in.
Yep. Because the most impractical game cases ever. The Saturn was gray, Becca, in Japan. In America, we got the black one. And then Japan also had a really sexy white variant of the Saturn. Mm-hmm. The Hitachi Saturn was gray, and then it was black in the States. Yeah.
I'm just saying it would have been sold a lot better if we had Sagata Senshiro like beating people up to play that console.
Oh hell yeah! The commercials for the Saturn, if you've never seen them in Japan, top tier, excellent stuff. Yeah. Following through with the Dreamcast, they had a pretty good set of Dreamcast commercials as well. Mm-hmm. All right, let's do one more super chat from Leo Flo with $5. A new Wario Land with Wario, Waluigi, Wapeach, Woshi, and Woad as playable characters. Instead of Wonder, we get Chaos. That would, you know what? We're overdue for like a Wario Land game. I would love to see something like that.
That would be cool.
All right, Let's move on to some news. Apparently, and I'm gonna need a little bit of a leg up on this one because I'm not a Beyond Good and Evil guy, but I feel like this is important. So, Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition has officially been announced, and following that announcement, we also just got the game. It leaked like
before that announcement,
well,
they
yeah.
had to announce it because the thing that leaked turned out to be an early dev build, because when they started showing it, we started seeing screens of this supposed Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition. It looked awful, like just the most low grade stuff, no transparency, so basic. It's like, why would they not just re-release the HD version? Because that's way better than this. So Ubisoft actually had to come out and say, like, no, it somehow got into hands before we intended to announce it. This is just an early, like, really early dev build. It's not actually what we have. So
Somebody's getting fired. Good Lord.
Yeah, that is a big no-no. They accidentally releasing the game. I have to wonder how that happened. I have some friends who used to work there. I don't think I know anybody currently in Ubisoft. But it feels like that should be a hard mistake to make to like just make it live for everyone. But yeah, it's very, I mean, I'm excited to see this. I skipped Beyond Good and Evil back in the day.
You should go back and try it, especially as a Zelda fan. I think you would really enjoy this, Steve.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen screenshots of it over the years, and I will admit oh god, what was that new Netflix Ubisoft animated show?
The Captain
Laser
Starhawk or something. Yeah, Laserhawk.
That had Jade and the pig guy from Beyond Good and Evil in it. Thank you. And they had a very interesting take on those characters. I was like, you know what, I should go back and play that game, because I'm sure there's always like a little element of truth or canonical truth to the character representations in Laserhawk. I was like, they seem like interesting characters. I
don't know how accurate they got to Rayman, I gotta say. Yeah, I've not seen the show. I've only seen the Rayman bits.
he starts out much more like the Rayman we all know and love, and then gets like really crazy. But yeah, Rayman, they had a frog assassin, all good stuff. But yeah, I don't know how much there is to say here other than that this is just nuts. I mean, it's cool that we're getting it, but the method by which we learned of its existence is wild.
Yeah, it's cool. We'll see what they actually add to it that's different from the HD version. That's the big question. It's like, why do we need this?
Yeah. I'll be curious. Like I said, I'm just gonna wait for this now, though. Now that I know that it's coming, there's no reason for me to go back to like an older version.
Oh no!
So I'll just wait for
wait
this
and see
whenever this comes out. It's the 20th anniversary edition, which means I assume that's next year. I don't know when this game came out. Was it 04?
I could not tell you. It might be 04. It has to be 04 at this point. There's very little time left.
Oh no, because it came out in November 11th of 03.
Really? We're gonna get a shadow drop.
So are we getting it at the Game Awards? Maybe.
The game could very well be done, and they just accidentally uploaded an old build. Or
That's
that was
possible.
on the servers that went live.
Well, interestingly, what day is the Game Awards?
It's next
this coming Thursday, basically.
December 7th.
Yeah.
So apparently the game came out on GameCube on December 10th. So they could be waiting for the anniversary of it would be weird to do it with the anniversary of the GameCube release specifically, but I guess it does give them 20th anniversary, right?
I guess.
I'm guessing we're seeing that sooner rather than later. So doubly true that I'll be waiting for that then. We'll find out. But I want us to devote a good chunk of the show to this next story, because I feel like this one, it makes my brain hurt in a weird way. So if you don't know, Level 5 had a presentation that was like ungodly early, right? Most of us didn't make it. I think
I was
just Ash.
School.
Yeah. I think it was just Ash and John that covered this one for us. So if you watch that live, you know where I'm headed with this. But we got two games. Basically, Deca Police, which was supposed to come out this year, got delayed to post 2024. So I don't know why you don't just mean 2025, but we also got a release date a release window for Professor Layton and the New World of Steam, which again is 2025. And what I find really weird about this is that I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, I could have sworn, well, I know Deca Police weren't both of these confirmed for Switch?
I believe so. I believe that was the idea.
Yeah, Deca Police was announced in a direct, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That one I'm sure of. I just couldn't remember if Layton was in a direct. I think it was, wasn't it?
I think it was. I think we had that whole section where all of a sudden, like, level 5, level 5, level 5. It's like, whoa, where did level 5 come from? And now the stuff is getting delayed. So,
yeah. So in the same direct, we had both of these games, and now they're pushed to 2025. I mean, realistically, does anybody expect us to believe that we're still going to be playing the same Switch from 2017 in 2025? I mean, 2024, I felt was pushing it.
To me, I mean, it's possible because it's not unheard of. I mean, let's be honest, we're still getting technically releases of God of War and Horizon on PlayStation 4, and the PlayStation 5 is out. So it's not unheard of to get those new games. But it also kind of points in the direction that the Switch successor will be backwards compatible. So
right. And that's,
I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like at this point, I mean, the Activision Blizzard lawsuit showed us that Nintendo has been, despite what they say themselves to the public, they've been showing developers the Switch 2 or whatever their next platform is.
Of course.
Activision clearly has seen it.
Nintendo will lie to your face. They were like, oh, we don't have a new version of DS coming 3 days later. Here's a new version of the DS.
Yeah. So we don't have it coming at this moment. Yeah. And that is, Nintendo is one of the few companies I know of that has outright publicly lied to everyone, and knowing full well that they're going to have their asses handed back to them within a week, and I don't think this is that tight of a turnaround, but it is weird to see Nintendo themselves saying like, hey, we've got a Peach game for like late 2024. And everyone's like, do you really though? Like, what platforms is that one on? And this is a historically Nintendo thing to do, because I think we all remember, Legend of Zelda for Wii U and seeing that 2015 and then seeing it slip and everybody being like, yeah, what about that NX you keep talking about though? Is Zelda going to be on that? Because it feels like it probably is definitely going to be. So I feel, and I've been saying this for a long time on our Patron exclusive Nintendo podcast, that Nintendo is really just kind of quietly confirming that the Switch library is going to exist on whatever comes after, because there's no way you keep throwing your AAA resources at Switch games that won't work on the next thing. Like, it doesn't compute.
I'm still not entirely convinced the new Switch is even going to really be billed as an alternative platform.
Oh, I don't think so either.
As far as like the software is concerned, like, of course we'll know that it is the successor, but they're going to try and not pitch it that way. And I think that's maybe the right idea. Because they have such a strong install base already. And to not have their future games just be available on that platform, I mean, it's risky. It's risky every time. There's no guarantee that they're going to refill that install base with every platform. I mean, we've seen that.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for most other companies, they did not go the simple route that PlayStation did, with it. Just like, fans are like, what's that? What comes out of the PlayStation 2? The 3. Hey, we know the 3 is a brand new console. This is the next upgrade of what the PlayStation was before, and 4 and 5 and so forth. Nintendo and Xbox got fancy with their naming, tried to be unique, and didn't always work, and in the Wii U's case would confuse people. So they got to be really specific with their naming of the Switch. That's a kind of a big deal. The Switch.
At the same time, though, like, there's no longer I mean, the Xbox is just the Xbox now. Like, from here on out, like, I don't think there will ever be a case where your games won't work on the next system for Xbox, because it's just an Xbox now. And I wonder if Nintendo is taking a similar approach with the Switch.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where they're headed, right? The next Nintendo platform, I feel like the goal might be to make it kind of like when a new iPhone comes out, right? After a few years, there are definitely games that won't work, on older iPhones. You just can't get like RE4, for instance, on iPhones that are like 3 years old. And I think that Apple has done this remarkably good job of papering over that fact so that people don't view it that way. Like, oh, I have to get the new iPhone for new apps to work. There's not that kind of same, for lack of a better term, anxiety around upgrading to a new phone that there is when you switch from console to console, right? Right now with consoles, there's a huge question mark of, okay, what about my library? Will it carry over? Am I able to continue with this? And then you get this, but whereas with phones, you kind of just pick up a new phone and you assume everything that you had before is going to work. And it's very weird when you get something that doesn't. So I think if I were Nintendo, if I was in those conversations, I would be trying to pull that same trick off. Like, oh, hey, this is a Switch. And we're not going to call it Switch 2. We're not going to call it Switch 4K. We're just going to say it's like the Switch. And now we've got like these legacy models that if you have them, you can still get games for them. But if you play them on the new thing, I don't know, they play nicer, better, faster. But you don't have to have it. You can get it, but you don't have to. And I think it's going to be the differentiating factor between all three of the big players is going to be how they position their platform, right? Like Sony is very much in the traditional console market. Yeah. And Microsoft seems to be kind of pushing for subscription-based services. They want Game Pass to really be their way forward to gain more customers. And Nintendo seems to be leaning kind of into the niche they've created for themselves with the Switch. Just, hey, you've got console games in your pocket. You can take them wherever. You don't need a streaming device. You don't need any of this. You can play Breath of the Wild on this thing.
They've always been the master of the handheld realm, and this is just extending to that. So, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I think that's where we're headed, though. I think that seeing these 2024, 2025 games just kind of further underline that Nintendo is viewing the Switch as a larger platform than just a single device. That it will be a platform for future titles as well on what we will traditionally call generational hardware, but Nintendo may just try to do away with the notion of generations altogether. Like, hey, here's a new Switch. It does cool stuff. And we're just going to call it the Switch. And
that would be ideal for me as a consumer. Like
maybe, but I also see that like Nintendo can also be very traditional. So it's hard for me to see them break away into that idea. I don't know. Yeah. I could see it going that way, but my gut says no, but I could see it maybe happening.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think we're all kind of waiting with bated breath at this point for Nintendo to lift the veil of secrecy around what their plans are for the next couple of years. It's really like we're at a point where I looked it up. We're in unprecedented territory. The Switch is older, I think, than any piece of Nintendo hardware has ever been without us knowing about the next piece of hardware. With wild. The exception of the original Game Boy.
I was going to say the Game Boy, I think, holds the longest one because I think went for like 12 years before it got its successor. Like technically, you had the Game Boy Pocket, but it was still the game. It was still played. Like, there was no upgrade. It was just a little bit smaller, better battery life and all that.
Game Boy Light in Japan.
Yeah,
Game Boy Light, baby. But yeah, it's
Pokemon saved that system. Like that it was heading downhill, but then Pokemon came around to like, oh, here's 4 more years of life for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I hope we'll see more from Nintendo soon, but honestly, I also got to admit it is also possible to see their viewpoint from the opposite angle, which is, I mean, I play my Switch and I'm not like, damn, this thing feels old and terrible. Like, I still play it and I love every second of it. I do feel like they've gotten every last bit of impressiveness out of that thing, but it's really hard to fault them for wanting to hold on to something that's working so well for them, because it's not like the Switch has just fallen off a cliff in terms of sale or software. People are still making loads of games for it. So I guess we're all just kind of living in Nintendo's world at this point. We'll see what they do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So we got one final news story, and then I'll read some super chats and we'll do our patron topics. And I think this is just going to be like a chorus of us being angry. But for those of you that don't know, Street Fighter 6 has finally revealed the cost for Costume 3 for every fighter. And people were worried about this. People were worried because Capcom did like daily posts explaining what each costume was for like 2 weeks. but never mentioning the price, and that kind
And
of
there was also the precedent of the TMNT costumes for
yes,
your avatar.
yeah, those were ridiculously expensive. So, just kind of a wild ride here. So if you don't know, we finally have the price for all costume 3 outfits, and it is $99.98. So it costs more to get this set of costumes than it costs to buy the game, as well
Yeah.
as some additional stuff.
So the way it works is that the only way to get them is through the fighter coins, the in-game currency in the game. Each costume is 300 fighter coins for a total of 5,400 fighter coins. The highest amount of fighter coins you can buy is 2,750, which is basically $49.99 or $50. In order to buy all of them, you need to buy it twice. So to get up to 5,500, bringing it to the $100 basically.
Which is just wild. I mean, that is, I mean, I like costumes. I like costumes in fighting games, and usually I do try to get them all. But I mean, this is, I don't know, between Mortal Kombat 1 and Street Fighter 6, I feel like we're just starting to get price gouged at this point.
Yeah, because Street Fighter 5 added a ton of costumes, and they were definitely cheaper, and they definitely carried that game forward, allowed it to exist. And the thing is, in some way, I get it, because a lot of these costumes are much more involved than you'd see from most others in the past, where they kind of have their own physics to them, added physics that you don't have in the typical. Like, let's take Cammy for example. She has the whole coat thing that flows. That bottom of the coat flows off her back. That does not exist in her typical outfits, either outfit 1 or 2. So it's functionally different. Same for Marissa and her wedding gown. Now they have flowing elements there that have to be programmed and specialized. It's a lot more programming and more detail than you typically get out of one of these costumes, which explains why it maybe costs a little bit more, but we're not used to that. We're looking at that as like,
right.
Oh God.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing when, to take it back, when game companies first started throwing games on phones, and they were charging like console prices, right? They were charging like $50 for an app, and people were like, no way, these things are 99 cents. Yeah, like you said, costumes in Street Fighter 5 were way cheaper than this, and historically, DLC in fighting games overall has been a lot cheaper than this. And so to see, like you mentioned, the Ninja Turtle costumes, which were individually like $10, and seeing Mortal Kombat charging $10 for a seasonal fatality, it's a lot. And I think it'd be one thing if the games were free to play or were not $70, price out the gate, but you're asking for $70 to buy the game, and then you want $100 for costumes on top of that, with seemingly no way to really earn them in game. Street Fighter 5 even had, like, if you decide to really grind, you could earn the costumes, though it was nigh on impossible.
Oh my God, this is fantastic. I found an 8-year-old post on the Street Fighter Reddit. Let's talk about costume prices, where they have a person saying $4 for a single costume, in contrast to that $4 that in Street Fighter 4 got you a pack of 5 costumes. So it's been gradually slipping up,
This is something that Capcom is just doing now. Like, this has been infecting Monster Hunter since Monster Hunter World, and it sucks because a lot of the stuff that you can buy, specifically in the case of Monster Hunter, used to be content that they would offer as reward for playing the free event quests. And now they're pulling that away from in-game content and just making it something you have to spend money on. And to see that happen in Street Fighter 2, it just sucks, man.
Yeah.
Remember unlockables? At least that we can. I mean, you could buy outfit 2, but at least you can unlock outfit 2 in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd even be happy with if this was, let's just say $20 for all of them, and you then had to play to unlock them or something. I'd be okay with that, but $100. I mean, it's hard. I think when you take a game, because Street Fighter 6, unlike 5, has loads of content at launch, right? There's the single player mode, battle hubs, a great roster of characters. and they're asking $70 for that finished product. And I'm okay with that because they did a lot of great work on Street Fighter 6. But to try to communicate to your player base that a single costume for every character is worth more than the game itself, that's a really hard sell for me. I'm like,
Yeah.
it clearly isn't. And I'm never one to lean on like the lazy devs argument. And this clearly isn't an issue where developers were lazy or something like that. And it almost never is when people say that. But this does feel like a really greedy cash grab. And it's something that, like Brandon said, is not infecting just Street Fighter. It's not like this is an issue with the industry at large where microtransaction prices are getting worse than ever. And the problem is they know people will pay this. There are people out there who absolutely will buy this. And they're kind of ruining it for all of us.
The YouTubers that be like, all right, I'll buy them here. Show off. Here's a compilation video. Here's all 16 costumes or in Street Fighter, you know, those type of videos.
Yep.
I mean, granted, it's not like everybody plays every single character in Street Fighter. Ideally, you'd pick out your mains and just go with that. But there is some part of you that kind of wants all those costumes just to have that content in there because it's just like, yeah, it's cool. Because that's the thing. Most of these costumes are pretty damn cool.
Yeah. I love Cammy's, like you mentioned. Guile looks really rad in like a suit with his hair pulled back. And Chun-Li's looks incredible just from the image that they showed. Ironically,
Kimberly.
Ryu's my favorite, and I hate his outfit so much.
Really? It's pulled straight from the game with the whole like this is Chun-Li picking out his outfit for him.
Oh yeah, I love Dhalsim's outfit too. It looks fantastic.
Bottom line for me is like I don't think it's wrong to, you know, charge money for content like this. I think that's fine, but it's just at this level of pricing, that's just not cool, man.
it really should be half of what it is,
if that. Yeah.
I
mean, because I keep coming back to you're comparing this to your own product and saying these are worth more than the game. Like that is aggressive pricing, and I think we're seeing it. Like I said, it's not just this. It's Mortal Kombat 1 is doing the same thing. Skins in Mortal Kombat 1 are like $10 per character. So and that's a single skin, and they keep releasing them. They're literally recycling old skins from previous games in Mortal Kombat 1 and charging you $10 for them. So
I miss spending 99 cents on a Mii Fighter costume.
Right? You know, it is interesting though. There's probably a larger conversation to be had about the time and resources that get sunk into making these, and then what marketing does with these.
75 cents. I'm sorry, it was cheaper.
Yeah, it is just wild to me that we're
so. Here's the crazy stuff. The crazy thing. I was very curious about this. Is how much does a character cost? Because we got Rashid, we got Aki. How much do they cost individually? Because I got the better pack that automatically unlock them. They are 350 points. The character, and remember, each costume individually is 300. A character is only 50 more than a costume.
That's ridiculous, man.
That's like an actual game-changing element. Yeah.
Yeah.
Capcom gonna Capcom, I guess. But I will say there's hope for this. Please, if you're out there and you're watching and you're listening, don't buy these. Just don't buy them. Like WB actually is reevaluating and adjusting pricing of microtransactions in Mortal Kombat 1 because enough fans were like, no, we're not paying for this. We refuse. And so they have softened their stance and committed to lowering prices. And that's what works. Not buying the stuff. Like if they offer it to you and you say, no, they will actually consider reducing it so that you will buy it. They want to know what price you want. So don't make these horribly high prices the norm by giving Capcom what they want in the form of your money. Just don't do it. And they might come back down to earth, literally, in terms of their astronomical pricing.
Also, friendly reminder for chat, it's not the developers probably making these decisions.
It is absolutely someone in marketing that did not create any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's a finance person who's saying, well, if we predict we can sell X number of these at this price point, which will yield this amount of profit.
Yep.
And Capcom goes,
always what it is.
We love money. So, all right, let's read a couple more super chats, then it's on to our patron topics for the week. If you don't know, patreon.com/GVGaming, our producers and above get to submit topics for us to read out each and every episode of the GVGcast, of which we each choose one. But before that, Disney Duncan with $2 more. We got a Quan Chi tease. Yes, we did. I'm excited to see him. I assume we'll see more of him at the Game Awards, which means that we'll cut away because they'll show him kill someone. Back with $5 more from Disney Duncan. To celebrate the 25th anniversary, I 100%ed Ocarina of Time, even though it's not my favorite game ever. It definitely earns the title. It's a great game. We did a video on it. We had folks from IGN and from all over the games industry talk with us about their memories of Ocarina of Time. It's really good. Didn't do nearly enough views. Go check it out. And then finally, George FT with $4.99. Now that you've played Super Mario RPG, what do you think of Yoko Shimomura's remake arrangements? Cheers. Man, you should have waited for Ash on this one, but they're fantastic. That's what I'll say.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I've specifically not listened to them yet because I don't have the game yet. I'm waiting for Christmas. So I'm looking forward to hearing these remixes.
Yeah, they're all fantastic. And yeah, I won't say more than that since Derek hasn't played the game yet. But let's go ahead and jump into our patron topics. I'm going to start with you, Brandon, because I feel like it's been a long time since we've been together on the show.
So mine comes from Hendrix Trog, asking, what currently untranslated game do you think deserves a chance at rediscovery through either a port, a full-on remake, or even a fan translation? For me, this game actually has a fan translation, but I feel like it's still pretty unknown amongst Nintendo fans, and that's Captain Rainbow.
Ooh, nice.
Oh,
Captain Rainbow is such an interesting idea. It's these washed up Nintendo characters living on an island, and you need to help them out. Like, that's neat. Why didn't it come here?
I mean, there are some racy bits. Don't you find like panties for a character in one of those quests and stuff like that?
You find a full-on marital aid.
It does get a little, yeah, but that's stuff that they can work out in localization as well. Then you're going to have a big censorship argument, which I don't even want to be around for.
No.
But I think it's still a really neat game. It's one that I'd like to play myself. And just to have the opportunity to play it on actual hardware officially would be cool.
Yeah.
Good.
I was gonna say, how about you? I was gonna throw it to you.
I'm just gonna say, I mean, we got Live Alive. That did great. I think the next big Square Enix game that could get the same treatment and be rediscovered in the same way, Bahamut Lagoon.
Ooh.
Nice strategy title, fun story and all that. I think, plus, trust me, as a Final Fantasy fan, you hear Bahamut in the title, it's like, well, huh? It's just like, it kind of triggers a little something in your brain. So yes, let's get that.
Nice. For me, I would choose a game that I watched be played when I grew up, and I know that it has a fan translation, but I've not played it. Ranma 1/2 Treasure of the Red Cat Gang for the Super Famicom.
Nice. Okay.
It's just like Final Fantasy, but what if it had Ranma characters in it? It plays exactly like an old school Final Fantasy. And
there's a Sailor Moon RPG like that as well.
There is. I played that one too. Well, I watched it played. My brother bought these games for a stupid amount of money in the 90s. And as a result, he wouldn't let anybody touch them. But I watched him play through both of them with neither of us knowing a lick of Japanese at the time. And I was like, this would be really cool if I knew what the hell was happening. So, yeah, I'd love to play that someday. And maybe one of these days I'll actually get because I know they have, well, I guess I could get a flash cart and put it on there and play it on a Super Nintendo. So maybe one of these days I'll do that with a fan translated version of Ranma. But that would definitely be what I would go after these days. I miss those old school licensed anime games back when they were still really good for their time, because I feel like these days we get kind of just really low effort anime games. Yeah, that one's rad.
Clash of Ninja, man. These games are sick, and this one never came out in the States, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, I have that.
We never got 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, we didn't get 3 and 4. We got worse Wii versions.
Oh yeah, I have that. Oh man, I have that weird Naruto game that had like Monster Hunter vibes to it. It's called like Naruto Dragon something. And he's wearing like
Dragon Blade Chronicles.
Yeah, I have that one.
Oh yeah,
That one is weird.
It is a weird game. Yeah.
I Squire in the live chat has me interested. Is like a One Piece 3DS fighter might be made by Arc System that could connect with DBZ 3DS game they also made.
Oh, what?
Like, that sounds
yeah.
awesome.
The Extreme Butoden, you could cross over the characters from the One Piece game and fight.
I had no idea you could do that. I
Well,
have
that's
Extreme
cool.
Butoden.
Yeah, if you got someone with the One Piece game, you can do local play.
Man, I gotta make that
Honestly,
happen.
that also, like, man, it would never happen. But Jump Ultimate Stars, I have a Japanese copy of that, and it's like, I wish I could understand the missions because it's fun. It
Jump
really
Ultimate
is.
Stars is fantastic. Yeah, I have the really bad PS4 version they did too. They did a Jump Stars game for
Oh,
PS4.
Jump Force.
Yep.
Not Jump Force.
No, not
There's
Jump Force. There was
one.
another one.
Oh,
It's
I don't know
also
what that is.
booty.
Yeah, like you're in a pirate ship and you sail around a really ugly map.
Oh,
Yeah,
J
not a
Star's
good game.
Victory Versus.
There you go.
I did play a little bit of that. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that
Not
game
good
is
game.
ass. All right. Well, thank you so much for the topic. Derek, let's go ahead and go with yours.
All right, mine comes from Mercury, who says video game remakes are a very fickle thing. On one hand, you have Final Fantasy VII Remake, which many would argue is not a remake since it deviates too much from the original. But on the other hand, you have Link's Awakening 2019, which some would argue is too faithful to a fault. What exactly is a perfect remake to you guys? And I mean, that's the thing. It's very tricky. What do you want out of it? Because a lot of people would say that, you know what? I think I actually was trying to think of it like, what is the kind of perfect remake? And honestly, I think the perfect one is one that still allows the original game to exist and still be as valuable and worth playing as it always was. This is just a new version that fixes up some things, does its own thing a little bit, and still makes the original worthwhile. So you kind of have that with the original 7 and 7 remake as well. But I think an even better example is Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is like there's things that not in Resident Evil 4 remake that are in the original Resident Evil 4 that you could still enjoy. And it just has a very different flavor, and both are a lot of fun to play. It's kind of perfect in that way that you get that same sort of vibe. And yes, Bolt Mouse, same goes with Resident Evil 2 in that way. And I hear Dead Space in Game Belt Summit. Yes, I've heard Dead Space kind of accomplishes the same thing. I like that idea that the game is really good, stands out on its own, but doesn't overwrite the original. I think that's a really cool thing to go for. But then I've already seen some suggestions in the live audience chat. For example, Simpercio, Metroid Zero Mission. Those are the other kind of remakes I kind of love, because Zero Mission completely negates any reason to have to play the original Metroid. The original Metroid, I don't think is worth going back to. Just play Zero Mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys? I'm curious where you fall on this one.
I generally like remakes that kind of reimagine their games because it just gives me more of a reason to play them. Because I'm usually drawn to remakes of games I've already played anyway.
Right.
So if you freshen it up in some ways, that's a little bit more exciting for me. But I mean, I just finished playing Super Mario RPG, which is incredibly faithful, and I still loved it. So I don't know if there's like an ideal path for me. As long as it's competent, done
It's
well.
a feeling, right?
Yeah. If they capture the feeling of the original game, or if they do something new, as long as it's good, I'm probably going to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little more shallow with this than you guys were, and I'm going to say that for me, the thing that I think draws me into a remake most is the visual enhancements to it. And the reason I say that is because, like you guys, I kind of am of two minds on the subject. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a fantastic game, and I love it, and it's absolutely unfaithful to Final Fantasy VII. Super Mario RPG is a fantastic remake, and I love it, and is 100% faithful to the source material. And the thing that ties those two together for me is that it took what at the time were very cutting edge visuals and improved them to be the cutting edge visuals of today. And, you know, I think when I was walking around the slums in Remake, I could just feel my heart palpitate. You know, I was like, oh my God, this is what I imagined it was when I was looking at those pre-rendered backgrounds in the 90s. And the same for Super Mario RPG. You know, obviously some things are just not faithful, but in a good way, because the world map is now not just a black square with a world map on it. It's like a living, breathing map. And, you know, that's kind of what you thought it should be, but you kind of accepted at the time that the Super Nintendo couldn't do what everyone imagined would be the case. So I think when you take a game and you really dramatically improve its visuals, but you do it in such a way that it feels faithful to the source material, I think that's what draws me into a remake the most. Like, it pulls me further into the world of that game.
There should also be at least a decade in between it, because let's look at Bowser's Inside Story and its remake.
That's fair. I feel like you do need to let technology progress a bit.
I think one of the issues with the Mario Luigi games specifically too is that, you know, they reused the same art direction like 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And that was not helping.
No, it just became so old hat.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, although Bolt Mouse unlocked a memory, they mentioned Maverick Hunter X on Mega Man, and I remember the first time playing that, and it throwing me off completely, because, you know, you go to Cho Penguin so you can get the boost upgrade for Mega Man's boots, and it's not there. You have to find that somewhere else, and it was such a different experience not being able to boost around because I had no idea where the boot upgrade was. It was weird.
Yeah. All right.
So,
did all of
thank
us...
you, Mercury.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we all mentioned Mercury. But
All
thank
right.
you, Mercury, for the topic.
Mine is from Shell Shock. I was trying to catch up with chat. Sorry, my brain just switched off for a sec. Shell Shock writes, what are some of your favorite arcade games that were ported to home consoles? Not counting collections where you slap a ROM and call it a day. I'm talking about an actual arcade conversion to the home console. And this is a weird one for me because most people out there have not played it. But if you know, like, kind of the golden era of the arcade was the late 8-bit, early 16-bit era. Because at that point, arcades were just objectively superior to console experiences. The ports you got were always inferior. It wasn't until like the PlayStation and Saturn came along that we started getting games that looked as good, if not better, than what you could go to an arcade and play, which largely contributed to the death of arcades. But my favorite arcade port comes from that 8 and 16-bit era where everything was worse. And the reason being is that I played a game a lot in the arcade called E-SWAT. It was a Sega first-party game, and it was just, you were a cop, and you were like a typical 80s arcade cop. No questions, just bang bang. You just shoot everyone. Like, I mean, also people are like hurling grenades at you in public. Like, it's just very realistic for the time. But if you played, so if you played through the game in arcades, it was like 4 levels. You're just a cop in a blue uniform shooting everyone, asking questions later. You take down a helicopter with a pistol. 80s arcade stuff. But then you get the game on Genesis, and the box art doesn't even make sense if you've never played it. There's like a robot on the front. You're like, okay. And you pop it in, and you play the first level. And after the first level, they show your guy, and he like gets a cybernetic attachment on his shoulder, and you're like, that wasn't in the arcade. And by the end of it, you're just full on RoboCop. And like one of your arms is a machine gun and the other one's a flamethrower and you have a jetpack. Like they're like, we can't make it look as good. So we're just going to make it real crazy. And I love that game because it just goes weird places.
That's amazing. I've heard of E-SWAT. I've not played it much at all.
It is an underappreciated gem in the Genesis library.
Oh goodness. Do you have one, Brandon? Or
yeah. So I don't particularly think this is a great game, but I love playing it because it's kind of stupid and silly. And that's Cruise and Blast, which is originally an arcade game, and it's available on Switch. And
oh
yeah, I love being a Triceratops instead of a car, animating one way, and then you do a flip, and it just rotates the model with no extra animation. That's the kind of jank I'm here for. And you know what? It's one of the most fun nights of local multiplayer I've ever had with a group of people because we were all in on the joke.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll say Cruise and Blast.
Nice.
Hey, I'll take it. I need to play that. I still have not played it. I've not played a good arcade racer in so long. For me, I didn't go to the arcades that often, so I wasn't always aware. But I did have moments where I played the console version first, and then would get to play the arcade version. Like I happened to see the arcade version there. I was like, oh, cool. What's this like? I bet it's better because it's arcade, and because you look at it, the graphics are obviously better. But then you play a little bit and play the whole thing, and you're like, huh, I think the console version's better. And I think that is the case for both of these games in the same series. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, so TMNT2 on NES, and Turtles in Time. They're absolutely better on console. Like I've played them both, and the console, the arcade versions are fine, basic, whatever. But they're sucked down your quarters. But there's a bit more finesse to the Turtles beat 'em ups on console, where you can sort of figure out and find a way to get through all them enemies and do all this stuff. And there's extra levels, like you got a snow level on TMNT2 that you didn't have in the main game, and Turtles in Time just has better bosses overall. That's just highlight for me right away. Of those two games by far are better on console than arcade.
Nice. Yeah, it's weird to talk about arcades these days. It feels like something we don't get enough of anymore. But that is it. That's our final topic for episode 83 of the GVG cast. Thank you guys so much for hanging out till the end. Of course, we could not make this show happen without your generous support. It means the world to us. It quite literally keeps the lights on. Of course, we have to give a special thank you to our patrons at the producer tier and above for helping to make this happen. I'm just buying time until I get the executive producers on screen and I find what I did with Brandon's frame. There he is.
Hello.
But we have to give a special thank you to our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. Can you tell we came in hot today? Those lovely folks include none other than Brandon Bovia, Cutie Caitlin, Fangs, Z Patty, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman 23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Blake, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vedran, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao, Azran127, Black King, Joseph Rutkin, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Andrew Medeiros, Darchi, Becca, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber CPHT, Too Much Spaghetti, Bane 400, Ascaron 809, Rioner, Raining Clouds, The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Mercury, Ravelox, my mom, hi mom, Skull Kid Tiger, Dark Steel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Cystic Warrior 29, DJ Jersik, Derek, Colin, Blaze 25, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Keel, Brendan Hesse, Hustlebud, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, the entire state of Wisconsin, Jim Wakeland, Aramis Baramis, Kyle the Monarch, Dat Alpha Lion, Lord Metarex, Blaze Collard, Eric, Cat Evie Person 5, Peyton Thiel, Mega Beatman True Blue Reviews, Ryan Hanley, The Game Jamie, Alex, and last but not least, Zombie Joe. And I apologize that your name wasn't up there on screen, Zombie Joe. I'll get you in there. I forgot to update my file. But that's going to do it for us here. This has been GVG Cast episode 83 for the week ending December 1st, 2023. Thank you so much for watching. We're off to our Patreon exclusive post show, and Derek's off to the movies. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe out there. And until next time, folks, good night and good vibes. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.